Hey everyone, just waiting for my partner in crime here, Dick, to join us. I'm sure he'll be tapping in any second. Pleasure to have you with us today and looking forward to having a little discussion together. All right, here he comes.
Okay. It was one too many buttons for me to push. It was just.
No worry, Dick. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me okay?
I can. We're good. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome. I'm going to do a little welcome address here, and then we'll get into our Q&A together. What do you say?
Perfect. We're good to go.
All right. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. I'm John Yarrington, the CEO of the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute, and we are proud to be both a sponsor and a speaker at eCommerce Day Remote. Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank Phil Gorman and Paula Luck for a job well done. Congrats on a great conference, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of it. I'd also like to take a moment to share a little background on the Performance-Driven Marketing Institute, aka are also known as the PDMI. The PDMI is a 501c6 not-for-profit trade association dedicated to protecting, promoting, and advancing the direct-to-consumer and direct response advertising industries. The PDMI is currently serving more than 140 member companies by providing member benefits in 4 key categories, including networking, education, advocacy, and marketing, all which help our members connect, learn, and grow their businesses. If your organization uses or provides measurable, monitorable, trackable media, or plays a supportive role in campaigns that do, the PDMI is for you. If you'd like to learn more about the PDMI, please feel free to visit our virtual booth after this session. We look forward to meeting you. We would love to say hello, and we hope to meet a few new people. So, with that all said, I'm joined here today with a media guru, a direct response expert, a PDMI member, and a gentleman I'm proud to call friend, Dick Weschler.
Hey, John.
Dick and I, hey, how you doing? Dick and I are going to be doing a Q&A together on debunking the myths around DRTV and performance marketing. And I'd like to take a moment to actually formally introduce Dick. Dick is the founder and CEO of the Lockhart & Weschler, a full-service direct marketing agency, which has grown from 3 million to 650 million in annual media billings. Dick in his early in Dick's career, as a member of the Direct Response Hall of Fame, as well as a past member of the Board of Directors for Electronic Retailing Association, realized good creative and the ability to quickly analyze data were the keys to successful direct response marketing. Most recently, Dick led an initiative to develop tools and strategies to plan, track, and analyze integrated media campaigns that support direct and retail channels and push online campaigns beyond their traditional scalability limits. Welcome, Dick, and thank you for joining us today. So we're on the clock, and we only have 30 minutes today, and we're running. It sounds like the group is running a little bit behind. So why don't we dive right into this Q&A together? What do you think?
Perfect. That'll be great.
All right. So many of the folks with us today here at the conference are e-commerce experts. However, few of them may have a limited experience with TV media. Can you briefly share, as a background setter, your thoughts on what direct response television is?
Yeah. Well, let me take a step back. So direct response marketing kind of became a dirty word at some point in time, and while that was happening, digital marketing surfaced, and initially digital marketing was really driven by technologists rather than marketers. Then marketers came into that realm, and there was an explosion. And interestingly enough, digital marketing embraced everything that direct marketing is about. So all the digital marketers became direct marketers and found their way back to what it is that we do. So there's an interesting evolution that took there. I think DRTV is understood. Let's not call it DRTV. Let's call it TV. First of all, it's marketing through video. It's marketing through storytelling, and like everything that goes on in a digital world, it's targetable, it's measurable, and it can be improved while you're in flight, while a campaign is taking place. It can be hyper targeted. It can be very very broad in scope, but it is a powerful force in helping an e-commerce world expand beyond scalability limits that they might otherwise face without it.
Dick, that's actually really well said. You and I have been in this game a long time. I've been at it for 2 decades. I think you've been at it for 4 decades. I know I'm showing your age there, but you've seen it all. You've seen the growth in this, my friend, and I think you nailed that. And this next question, you kind of touched a little bit on it, but I'm going to throw it at you anyways. So it's no secret that online companies have used offline media in the growth and development of their business. can you briefly discuss why direct response advertising has been so valuable to DTC and e-commerce companies?
Well, if you look at what goes on in a digital world, you have people that are seeking information, and a large percentage of those are unqualified. They're not going in with your particular product, your particular service, your brand in mind. The thing that TV does and other mass media does is it qualifies an enormous universe of individuals and to become interested in what it is that you want to communicate to them. So that's incredibly valuable in a digital world. I remember, the thing that's fascinating is you turn TV on and all of a sudden your search volume explodes, right? All of a sudden your web visits explode because you've qualified people. You've piqued their interest, you've qualified them to come to you. And unlike a digital campaign, which is really one-on-one, very much like direct mail, it's one-on-one. Television is a mass media, and it creates a huge wave, and that's why it's important.
That's awesome. Just off the cuff, and this is just kind of off the top of my head here, can you think of a particular company that resonates to your mind that has rode that wave and done a good job using DRTV through their DTC marketing?
I can think of many of them. Okay, and we've been fortunate to represent. I think the big one that people should recognize today. Let's look at Peloton. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
Peloton is a fascinating example, and we were involved with them when they were launching the brand. So they had their retail stores, they had their studios, and they had done a lot of search and Facebook advertising, and they hadn't really been successful in moving beyond those two channels. We learned, we launched a campaign for them. We started off in local markets before going national, and we quickly realized that good contextual placements, not just general market placements, but good, powerful contextual placements, generated enormous traffic in their stores, as well as online activity that resulted in sales. So TV really became the media that drove that business, in addition to word of mouth. Or TV became the media that allowed that business to develop a base of customers that ultimately turned into word of mouth, that ultimately allowed them to become a public company, and that ultimately allowed them to be the extraordinary force they are in the marketplace today.
That's a great example. Thanks for sharing, Dick. You recently authored an article in Media Post where you discussed the debunking of the myths around DRTV. I think those myths that you touched base on were incredibly important, especially for D2C and e-commerce marketers. And I'd love to walk through those myths with you, get your feedback, get your ideas. There's 5 total myths, and why don't we go and start with the first myth, which is DRTV runs in cheap, low-value inventory that no other advertiser wants.
Yeah, again, that's where, I kind of have a chip on my shoulder, and people think that, DRTV is a dirty word. It's knives, and it's Ginzu knives and widgets that sell from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and it's anything but that. You can make, you plan, purchase, and manage a DRTV campaign exactly as you would a general campaign. There's differences in the way we can price it. There's differences in the way that we can drive the pricing down, because the cost of media is a really critical factor in the effectiveness of any ROI-driven marketing campaign. But it's not cheap inventory. It can be hyper-targeted in the same way that anything can be, and when it's effective, it is.
Yeah, that's well said. That's really well said. We both have seen that for years, and we've had many clients and customers and friends in the industry that have been able to take advantage of those situations. So myth number 2 says clearance is unreliable. Campaigns are likely to overclear or in other words, underclear, and no one can actually run a successful business with that kind of uncertainty in their campaigns.
Yeah, well, okay, so DRTV is, or performance television is often purchased in the scatter market without any guarantees. So if a network wants $10,000 to clear a spot, and we go in and we say, we'll give you 3, all right? We know going in that that's not going to clear 100% of the time. However, we can put criteria in place that ensure that we know exactly how much of that is going to clear. So if you have the right tools, the right experience, and you do the right legwork, at the end of the week, if you needed to generate 150 GRPs for a particular marketer, you have the controls to deliver 150 GRPs. You have the controls to deliver the awareness that you need. But there's going to be some fluctuation throughout the week that needs to be managed. It's just not a guaranteed clearance. But when we buy a campaign, we'll go in and we'll say we expect 50% to clear, so we'll overclear by 100. We'll overbook by 100% in order to clear, in order to achieve the 50% clearance rate.
No, that makes sense to me. And just for our folks that are listening today who may be e-commerce experts but have limited experience with TV media, when Dick says things like the scatter market, there's different ways the media can be purchased throughout the year. So for example, with the upfronts, you can buy your media in advance, and a good portion of the network sell, what do you think, Dick, 60, 70, 80% of the media in the upfronts?
It varies, but usually anywhere between 60 and up to 80%. This year's a little different because the upfront was stalled because of the pandemic. Right. But a significant percentage of the media is purchased upfront. Also, a significant percentage is purchased on an ongoing basis on a guaranteed delivery as well, right? So,
right. And that leftover that leftover 15 or 20% is really where we can shine as performance-driven marketers.
Well, that's the point. Is there's significant price advantages that are available to you if you know how to go to market and negotiate the right deals. And that's what allows the cost efficiencies that make profitable performance marketing, possible on TV.
So folks, if you're looking to go to market, you need to talk to guys like Dick because they know what they're doing when it comes to TV media. Myth number 3.
John, just think about it this way. You could spend $35, $45, $55 $1,000 to place an ad in a particular program on a particular network. Or you could get that same placement without a guaranteed clearance and a guaranteed delivery for $8 $1,000. The choice is yours. So is the uncertainty to procure that $8, because there is some uncertainty around it, is the benefit more significant than the uncertainty?
That's right. And that actually leads really well into myth number 3, which is you can't control frequency or programming in a campaign in which your campaign will air.
Yeah, that's not true. We're fortunate. We represent a lot of big corporations. We represent a lot of small entrepreneurial companies as well. But the reality is every plan that we bring to market, we have do not clear lists. So there's programs that we eliminate from all buys at our client's request. We don't have personal preferences, but our clients do. And so every contract that we bring to market has do not clear lists. Every contract that we bring to market has separation requirements. So no spot in most instances cannot air within 30 or 45 minutes of each other, which is a normal general market clearance requirement. We have daily frequency limitations that cannot be exceeded on every network that we buy. We have very specific day parts. They have to clear between 9 in the morning and 11 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon. Whatever the day part is, we go in and we do that, and we eliminate parts of those day parts for various reasons. So you have every bit as much control in putting that plan to market as you would with anything else. The uncertainty is that it may not clear, right? But a significant percentage of it will clear, and the price advantage will be extremely significant.
Well, the risk of not clearing to me is always worth the price advantage.
It can.
My opinion.
It can.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Now, this next myth makes me really scratch my head, and it'll make sense when I ask you the question, but DRTV Impressions is less effective than a brand buy. And I think about how many brands are now doing performance-driven marketing, and I just sit around and I just wonder about this one.
Yeah, and it's just something that we've heard again and again and again, and there's just really no foundation for that whatsoever. The bottom line is an impression is an impression, and simply because one of our campaigns airs at 9:24 on ABC in a primetime show doesn't make that impression any less valuable than a commercial that was placed by a general market agency in the same exact time in the same exact place. It has equal value, and I think it's important to understand that. It's you're reaching the same eyeballs, you're reaching them in the same programming, you're reaching them at the same time. It's of equal value.
Yeah, and that's important. That the key word there is equal value. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. Now, the fifth myth that you wrote about in your article and media post, I think this is a really important myth for this audience that's here with us today, being that there's so many D2C and e-commerce marketers here with us today. But you can't accurately measure the impact of video, TV, DRTV, any broadcast in general on digital. Please debunk that.
Well, there's an ongoing debate here, but the reality is you can very effectively measure the impact. Not only can you effectively measure it, but you can attribute the actions that take place back to the originating media. You can take it back to the exact commercial that aired. And let me say that, and I'll get the tongue out of my cheek here for a second. It's not 100% empirical. There's no doubt about that. But there are really effective models that are in place that very accurately attribute all digital activities back to an originating media and allow you to manage the campaign against those insights. And when you do manage the campaign against those insights, you move the campaign forward, you improve your efficiencies, and you hopefully are able to increase your scale as well. But you need to have that attribution model in place. Now, a lot of the third-party models that are out there have one major flaw. Well, in my mind, there's two major weaknesses. I don't want to call them flaws; they're weaknesses. One, you don't get the information next day. You can't act on it the next day. It's really important that you have an immediate access to all of that analysis, so that when you wake up Tuesday morning, you know what happened on Monday, and you can affect Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of that week based on it. The other thing is the majority of models that are out there don't have audience delivery numbers baked into that. And the reason is the third-party vendors don't subscribe to Nielsen. So they're not able to get access to audience measure. And if you don't have audience measure, you really can't weight the impact of a spot very effectively. You need to know how large the audience was, when it took place, and what it looked like. And so we go about it in a very different way. We have Nielsen, and we are able to turn reports around interday if we need to for any one of our clients. But that immediacy is really critical. Now, we had an advantage. We started doing this 15 to 17 years ago when we represented Vonage, and Vonage was really, they came out of nowhere, right? They were the first VoIP phone provider, and they became the largest digital advertiser overnight. And we were handling the TV side of their equation, and we quickly realized the enormous impact that TV had on their overall business and on the volume that they were driving. So we had to put analytical tools together way back then to manage the campaign in a way that was totally different to the way that we would have traditionally managed another DRTV campaign. So that became the basis of our foray into that marketplace, and it's an area that we've just carried through, for nearly 2 decades at this point. Yeah.
Which is amazing. And you look, attribution modeling is without a doubt the buzzword of our industry, and has been for a couple of years. I mean, everywhere you go, people talk about attribution modeling. Some people believe they have the best system in the world. Other people believe they're on the verge of creating the best system in the world. This past pandemic taught us a lot. We saw from the research in the industry that there were a lot of brand response advertisers who use singular DR variations, like a simple 800 number or a simple vanity URL or one singular promo code. And they came off air in February, March, and April because they had some issues in tracking and monitoring and measuring the value of their media, their spend, and how their clients and customer base were reacting to it. Whereas we saw some of the traditional direct response advertisers that have been in the space for 20 or 30 years who are really used to using multiple DR variations for different geographical areas, for different product zones, for just different TFNs or different URLs or different promo codes. They were able to track their media really, really well. And when we were looking at the dollar value of the media spend from, let's say, end of February, early March to June, we saw some companies in our space that were traditional direct response marketers increase their spend 200, 300, 400, 500%. We even saw one company who has multiple products. So it's not like they just went from one product to two products and increased their spend, but they've been in the space for 25 years and they have multiple products and they increased by 1,000% in their spend. So the question I have for you in terms of monitoring, attribution modeling, and the value of direct response or performance-driven marketing versus traditional advertising is: Are you in favor of using those DR variations? Is that something that you find work really well for your campaigns, or are you more interested in the model that's by third-party attribution modeling?
Well, you use the model that's available to you, right? Okay, so we prefer our own, right? We've always lived and died with proprietary systems. That's just our cultural bias. But here's the thing that obviously let's talk about e-commerce day. The pandemic hit, and any resistance that ever existed by consumers to online communication or purchasing online evaporated in 5 minutes. It went away, and everybody found themselves in a situation where they had to use the internet. They had to engage directly with a retailer or a seller online. So no matter how resistant you were, how hesitant you were to make that leap of faith, in 5 minutes, 5 years of resistance went away, right? And it would have taken 5 years to get to where we are today. And and a lot of companies are catching up, and a lot of analytical tools are catching up. And that's a good thing, because this is a real sea change that has taken place. But the companies who were in place and ready for it had a huge win, and they have a huge head start on other people. I think the CEO of Target said it really well when they came back and gave new guidance for the year. I believe it was in March. They republished their guidance for the year. He said, and I found it stunning. He said February hit, and all of a sudden every day was Black Monday. Only every day was 5 times bigger than the biggest Black Monday that we've ever had, right? so you just step back and you go, whoa, that's a powerful, powerful phenomenon that took place. And that was just Target. That took place everywhere that had the systems in place. The big breakdown was the supply chain and the inventory. A lot of people had to pull back because they no longer had any inventory. They sold through it all, right? So it's a different world today. And the pandemic is a horrible thing. It's nothing to feel good about. But the bottom line is it's probably the most extraordinary catalyst that ever took place to e-commerce, right?
It's true. It's true. I mean, we're here today. We should be in LA right now having this conference live together. But you're across the East Coast. You're somewhere in the Hamptons, and I'm down in Orange County, California. Right. And we're interacting with thousands of people from across the country, and if not around the world. And we would never have thought of doing a conference like this if it wasn't for the pandemic 6 months ago.
That's right. So yeah, and ironically, the bandwidth was in place. the pipelines had been laid, so we all had the bandwidth and the capacity to facilitate these sorts of things. It wouldn't have existed 3 to 5 years ago. Wouldn't have existed.
Nope, I totally agree. Well, we're running a little low on time, but I've got a bonus question for you. Being that this is an e-commerce group, we've seen many online companies explode offline, and we've talked a little bit about this today. And I'll give you some examples. We've seen Casper, which is a mattress company in the homeware category, explode. We've seen Roman, which is in the healthcare category. We've seen Babbel in the educational category. Of course, you mentioned Peloton in the fitness category. They've all exploded, those categories from online to offline. What's your prediction based on everything that's happened in the world over the last 6 months? What's your prediction in 2021 for a hot category for this group to watch?
Well, that's a loaded question. Not that by Casper, those companies started online, and then Casper, as an example, expanded into retail. But I just think we're going to see an enormous shift of CPG items being sold directly through e-commerce rather than retail. I think e-commerce is going to become an equal, if not a preferred channel for more and more basic necessities, and I don't see that changing.
Well, that buzzer is actually a good warning because we just hit our timer. That was a fast 30 minutes together, Dick. I could sit here all day and talk with you. It's fascinating to hear all your thoughts and your ideas on what the industry is doing and the direction we're going. Folks, if you enjoyed this conversation, we'd love to invite you to the PDMI booth. You can come join us there now, and we'll go through questions and answers together. We don't have enough time on this location to do it because there's another group coming in behind us. But if you go to the expo session located in your toolbar, and then you click down and find PDMI and click in, we can chat there. We'd love to see you, answer a few questions. If you have questions for the PDMI team or Dick, we're happy to be there for you. Thanks again for giving us your time to be here today. And Dick, thank you for participating and sharing all your knowledge.
Thanks for the invitation. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Be well and stay safe.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.